Hello and welcome to Super Rugby Round 16 preview, brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby opinion and predictions. So, why don't you hit the old subscribe button down below so you don't miss any of my other videos. You wouldn't want to miss out on any of the content we're producing this weekend. For example, I will be doing post-match reaction to the Highlanders versus the Hurricanes, the Chiefs versus the Crusaders, South Africa versus Wales, and also the three MLR Major League Rugby games out of the USA as well. So you don't miss any of those games, or my post-match reaction to those games at least, do hit the subscribe button down below. So this weekend is a bit of a shorter weekend, or shorter round of games than normal. We just have the Australia and New Zealand, or Australia Conference and New Zealand Conference teams playing because of that game up in Washington DC between South Africa and Wales. So we'll get on to that game at the end, and I'll give you a little bit of an idea as to where I think that one's going to go. But before we get to there, first up we have the Highlanders hosting the Hurricanes down in Dunedin on a Friday night. And the Highlanders, if we look at their team, a pretty strong squad. Great to see Richard Buckman, or the Barracuda, back on the bench. Interesting that Shannon Frizzell is there as well on the bench and not actually starting after his All Blacks call-up. But we'll see. It'll be good to see him get some game time and see him playing as well. Apart from that, this is pretty much like a first choice squad or first choice team that you'd expect. All the big names there. We've got Ash Dixon and Ben Smith captaining the side. Liam Squire, Hunt Whitelock across their back row. Aaron Smith, Supawanga, Tavita Lee, Walden, Thompson, Naholo. And they get basically all the names you'd expect in that side. Tom Franklin Hempo up front as well. So they're strong side out by the Highlanders. They've been on the road for quite a few games now, so be happy to be back at home. They do have one front row guy, Tui Loma, who has his first start of the round as well. So it's not it's not all. There is someone new in there. So good. It's a good side out by the Highlanders after a bit of up and down recently. Brad Shields, going over to the Hurricanes now. Brad Shields will become the 14th player to bring up 100 appearances for the Hurricanes as he leads the team out at the weekend. Obviously, still has the old all the rubbish going on around on social media about him going up to England and stuff. I think that's fine. I think he should be selected, and I think he should be playing this weekend as well, because the window doesn't mean he should be released until after this game. So that's how I think it should be. Again, as we've seen all season with this Hurricane side, a strong side. Smith, Riccatelli and Tuanga Allen across the front row. Fatialofa and Lausi in the engine room. And then Shields, Adi Surveyor and Evans across the back row. So very strong, one of the stronger packs that the Canes can put out. TJ Perenara, Bowden Barrett, Ben Lamb, Lamapi, Geordie Barrett, Julian Sevilla and Milner Scudder. So obviously no Arso and no Proctor, who are still out injured. But otherwise, this is a strong side. Geordie Barrett back at 13 again. So interested to see how he goes against New Zealand opposition in that position. Obviously, it's somewhere that he came out publicly during the off-season and said that he wanted to play, and he has bulked up a bit over the off-season to do that. So it's going to be interesting to see him playing there. This should be an absolute cracker, and normally, basically what we would say is if it's not the Blues and it's a New Zealand derby, go with the home side. But I'm actually going to go with the Canes by 3 on this one. It's not going to be a wet night like it was against the Crusaders, or even if it is a wet night, it doesn't matter because it's indoors, they've got that roof. So we're going to see much more the style that the Hurricanes want to play will suit the conditions a lot better. The Highlanders, also like those conditions. So it should be a good feast of rugby and what we like to see from these New Zealand derbies. And as I say, I'm going for Hurricanes by 3, and Christian's gone for Canes by 7, the Chief by 6, and Jack has also gone the Canes by 10. So everyone, that's all from the live chat. So everyone is going. So yeah, the Canes are outstanding favourites. The Canes and the Crusaders have shown themselves to be the top 2 teams in this competition, and that's why people are going that way. I'm going for a smaller margin than the other guys. Then on to Saturday, and we have the 5 o'clock game in New Zealand. Is the Blues versus the Rebels. There have been a few question marks here about Rieko Iwani has not been selected for the Blues in this one, but he does have to be rested for 2 games. And you've got to say, okay, when are you going to rest him? You've got to rest him at some point. He can't play every game of the season. And against the Rebels at home, that's got to be a fairly good one to choose, you'd think. Apart from that, also Sonny Williams, I believe, is out injured. Initially, he was bracketed as maybe being available, but I think he's actually injured now, and so he's also going to be out. So Perifetta is going to have a fairly inexperienced Hepatima and Ledger in the centre combination for him. Manu is also inexperienced out on the replacing Rieko Iwani, and they've got Duffy and Collins to add some experience to that back line. A lot of this is going to be on Perifetta and Pulu to move the team around the pitch where they want them to play, with that in mind. In the forwards, though, there's also people missing there as well. In Tuipulotu, obviously, is still out. Pryor's out. Parsons out. So there's plenty of injuries in that front line, and it has been an issue in that front team, and it has been an issue for the Blues all season. Akiri has been picked, though, and we've got Kano there as well to give some leadership to them. Tuangafasi as well in that front part. But injuries playing havoc with this Blues side, and they'll be looking to step it up. Amongst Rebels, they've got a couple of players back. So Ross Haynett-Petty is back, and so is the prop Ainsley back in the side. Still no Will Genia, though, and that has got to be a big one. So he's still going to be a big loss. So Ruru will continue to run things with Reece Hodge at 10. It's not really a combination that I'm a great fan of. I don't rate Ruru that much. I think he's a big step down from Genia. And is Reece Hodge really a 10? Definitely not a creative one anyway. But that back line with Corabetti and Maddox out on the wings, Maddox being called up to the obviously I think both of them actually have been called up to the Wallabies squad, and with Meeks and English in the middle there, and Dane Haynett-Petty at the back. It's not a bad back line, to be honest. There's definitely some pace and stuff there. Again, the up front though, I mean, obviously a lot of it will be on Maffey to have a good game. Otherwise, and obviously Adam Coleman, the captain, to run things, but not a scary pack, and that will help the Blues. And it could be a game for the back. It's going to come down to what the weather's like. I know down here in New Plymouth it's going to be wet. I'm not sure what the weather is looking like in Auckland. They'll be hoping for dry weather for both these sides. I don't think either of them will want it to be wet. Obviously, it's going to be cold. This is one that the Blues, you're never confident backing the Blues, and they've only won, I think it's 2 games this season, so they're not going great. So I'm backing the Blues by 3 at home. The Rebels obviously started great this season, but we've seen that was pretty that they made the most of having having a relatively easy schedule for them. In the chat, the people are a bit split, so some going for the Blues, some going for the Rebels, and this one could go either way. But I'm going to back the home team, and also whenever as the rule goes, if there's a New Zealand team but playing an Australian team, you always back the New Zealand team from a picking point of view, and because let's be honest, historically that's been a better one. They've been winning those games. Next up, the normal 7:30 kickoff in New Zealand time is the Chiefs versus the Crusaders. I'll be in post-match reaction to this game as well. Sam Cane comes back on the bench for the Chiefs. He'll be much needed. Tauranga on the bench as well. Sean Stevenson. So there's plenty of. They've got a strong bench to back up this team. In the starting lineup, Brodie Retallick, obviously Archvin's Superman, is in there with Allardyce next to him as well. So you've got that international lock pairing. Liam Messam is running things from number 8. And then with Webber and Damien McKenzie, that's an experienced core to that team. Charlie Naitai retains his 12 jersey. It is the better position for him, and he came through the other game well. So looking forward to seeing him playing there again. And Anton Leonard-Brown really does need to show us why he got selected into that All Blacks squad, I think. And this is going to be a good game for him. With Sean Wainui, Pulu, and Solomono Alemano, they've obviously got pace to burn out wide, and that is going to be a fun back line. It's all going to come down to can the Crusaders contain them and use their forward power really to get the upper hand. Obviously, with Moody, Taylor, Alatoa, that's a very good front row, even with Fanks still suspended. Barrett with Strange in the engine room. Bit surprised that Romano isn't in there, but he's come off the bench, which is obviously going to be it's a good bench with players like White Crockett on the bench, Mitchell Drummond, Mitchell Hunt, and Makaleli. There is some skill, there is some quality to come off the bench from the Crusaders as well. Matt Todd is back to captain the side with Jordan Tuafua at number 8. They'll be getting around the park. Obviously, Richard Moanga with Bryn Hall inside him. Richard Moanga is going to be a key guy in this game. Goodhue steps into 12, which is going to be interesting to see how he goes there. I think he's better 13 than a 12, but still, I think he's stepped up and shown a lot of leadership this season, and it's going to be interesting to see how he compares to Anton Leonard-Brown, even though they're in slightly different positions. And then obviously, Tamane Balu, George Bridge, Vivali, but it's great to also see Israel Dag back from injury again out in the wing. To see how he goes. So, as always, a very strong Crusaders side, and they have shown us this season that even with injuries, they are getting the wins. So, again, I'm going to go against the rule of backing the home team in New Zealand derbies and back the Crusaders to win on by 3. As I say, I think the Crusaders and Hurricanes are the best two teams by some way in this competition. We then have the no, we don't have the Brumbies. So what am I talking about? We then have the Reds versus the Waratahs, the classic derby in Australia. Starting off with the Reds, I mean they've been up and down, and they can produce some good results, but also they have lost games you would have thought they would have won. Sorry, just going to wet the whistle. Actually, good time to take an ad break. Please don't forget to hit the like button on this video. If you're listening to the podcast, don't forget that 5-star review and do subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my videos or podcasts, depending on how you are listening or watching. Thank you very much. That was a word from our sponsor, DrivingMaul. Hello. Anyway, so looking at the Reds lineup, they've switched. Stewart and John Lance around, put John Lance at fullback and Stewart at 10. I'm not sure how much that really means and how much they'll be switching around actually during play between those two positions. To be honest, we obviously have players like George Smith, Scott Higginbottom in there. They're really going to have to lead this this Reds pack. This is where the Reds could get the upper hand because it's not a heavyweight Tars pack. It's a mobile Tars pack, and they're going to have to be careful about that because they will be getting around the pitch. But there is opportunity for them to take it up front to them if they want to. With Soravi, I think that's how you say it. It's his debut at number 9, or run-on debut. So it's going to be a big night for him. Let's hope he handles the nerves and everything well, because with Karevi, he can release Pacina and Parisi, those two wings. They do have some pace out there. If they manage to suck the players in and create those overlaps, they could get some joy out of that. You'd want the starting 15 really to win this. You're not going to get that much off the bench, I don't think, from the Reds, apart from Lucas maybe. Going across the Tars, and They've got the players you'd expect: Hooper, Phipps, Foley, Beale, Folau, Kurdish Rona, who's been called up into that Naravoro Rona. Clark. And it's a very recognised line, back line from them. Interesting to see Jed Holloway at 4. So I don't think he's really a lock. I think he's more of a loose forward. So I say it's a mobile but not a powerful pack, with Rob Simmons joining in there in the engine room. In Tom Robinson, Kepu and Fitzpatrick in that front row, yeah, they've got experience, especially with Kepu. But I say it's mobile, but you do have the opportunity of taking it to them, I think, and I think that's where the Reds could gain a bit of an advantage here. Let's be honest, we're going to see some kicks for Folau to chase, and we're going to see Beale running things for the Tars along with Foley as well. Everyone in the chat, has gone for the Tars between about 3 or 5, so they're expecting a close game within one score. I expect the same as well, but I'm going to back the Reds with their home field advantage to win this one. And let's see how that one pans out. The final game of the round is the Brumbies versus the Sunwolves, and we don't have the squad lists, but there has been a whole bunch of controversy because Checker has asked the Brumbies to rest a bunch of their Wallabies. What's an Wallaby? Anyway, of their Wallabies. Because their game is on Sunday, it's 24 hours later than all the other teams, and he wants the players to be available for 2 contact training sessions before the test matches. And if they play that game on Sunday, they won't have had the rest time to have that training sessions. So it's going to be apparently the Brumbies are fighting against that and are actually still going to select their Wallabies. So players like Pocock, but let's just wait you wonder why, because this Sunwolves team is missing a lot of its brave blossoms. It's definitely not a full strength Sunwolves side by any stretch of imagination, like we saw against the Rebels last weekend. A lot of the players are already in Singapore preparing for their test series. So you would think the Brumbies could rest their players for this game, but they are trying to get a big crowd. They are trying to generate, get people through the door and get bums in the seats. And it's difficult if you're going to be resting your star players such as Pocock, etc. So I can understand from a marketing point of view, but from a player point of view and from a result point of view, do they really need those players? I don't think so. But I say the Brumbies are holding strong and saying, no, we are going to play those players. So there we go. We'll see how that all pans out. I'm backing the Brumbies by 10. Again, similar kind of numbers from the live chat as well. Yes, this is a Brumbies game to win through and through. So finally, that's how I see the Super Rugby games going. So please let me know. I always have a good rugby chat. Let me know your thoughts down below. The other game that's going on this weekend is South Africa playing Wales up in Washington DC. And I say I'll be doing live post-match reaction to that. So hit that old subscribe button to get the notification for that. The Springboks are taking up a very inexperienced squad. I think it was 7 or so new caps are in the starting 15, or 6, 7, and a similar number on the bench as well. I know that Wales also don't. Both sides don't have their European-based players. Now Wales have obviously got their players from Wales, but the players that are playing in the Rugby Premiership are not being released for this game as it comes outside the window. Now, obviously this game is mainly for cash from both the sides, but there has been some rumblings about the fact that this doesn't have that it hasn't had great ticket sales in the States, but hopefully they'll still get a decent audience in Washington DC. They are looking at adding a Major League Rugby team in 2 years' time in 2020. So you'd hope that they could use that to help start generating a bit of an audience. But we'll have to wait and see as to how that all pans out. Both sides say missing lots of players, inexperienced ones. So it's questionable as to which one. At least a bit of a guess as to who's actually going to win this one. Obviously, it's Rasmussen's first game in charge, whereas Wales will be much more settled in their patterns under Warren Gatland. And so I think probably Wales should be getting up in this one. I'm going to take a bit of a coin flipping egg, back Wales by 3 in this one. I know we're much more aware of the South African teams. The South African teams have been playing better in Super Rugby, and hence we've got a couple of people backing South Africa in the live chat. But I think with a brand new coach, new systems, etc., you've got to say that Wales are the more settled side and possibly the more experienced side. And so you've got to, I would back them to win this one-off match up in Washington, D.C. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Always up for a rugby chat. Let me know your thoughts down below, or you can catch me on Twitter at DrivingMaul as well. I will be back tomorrow night, straight after the Highlanders versus the Hurricanes. Give me a post-match reaction. I think I've got Steve and maybe even Hugh as well on for that one. So come and join us, and always good for a rugby chat. Please let your friends know, and all that kind of stuff. Cheers, and enjoy whatever rugby you're watching this weekend.